Thank you for joining me for today's podcast. I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Now you'll notice that today I didn't have my normal intro to the Accomplish More podcast. I'm making some slight changes to the show and going to be dropping the name Accomplish More from the podcast name altogether. Why? Well, I'm in the works of choosing a new name because I've been struggling with the title of the podcast for quite a while now because it really doesn't truly represent what my aim is and how I'm pointed in the direction of helping you. Accomplish More is the subtitle of my virtual assistant business, Scrivener Solutions, and it works very well there. Those who are ready to delegate to a team of VAs have been in business for a while and have a direction for the most part, and they just need an extra set of hands to help them accomplish more. So the subtitle works there. To help them leverage their time and to get more done, Scrivener Solutions is there to help. But over the past few years, kind of behind the scenes, I've been helping friends and colleagues who aren't ready to delegate yet. I've been serving as their guide, so to speak. Someone that they could bounce ideas off of, actually hold their hands and show them what they can do to help create the business that they love. And many times over coffee, I'd have various conversations with these colleagues and friends about different things that mainly circled back around having more freedom. Freedom within their small business, that they are doing everything themselves and they're not ready to delegate, or they really want to start a business and have more freedom. Some feel they are stuck in jobs and chained to just one location and have no idea how to break away. They look at my and my husband Robert's lifestyle and wonder, how are we able to break away and travel so much? Some are new in their business, or actually, some have been in business for quite some time and have been doing the same things all the way through and feel like they are just chasing down people to close a sale and are exhausted and frustrated. They feel like there's got to be a better way. So that's the very reason why, helping my friends and colleagues over coffee, that at the beginning of the year, I had launched my personal brand website, GaylaScrivener.com, so that I could build a platform to help more people who are thinking that something has to change in your life. Something has to be different with how you'd like to earn a living. We all have to work and earn some sort of living, put a roof over our heads, put food on the table. But we also need to earn a living so that we can do the cool stuff that we love to do and go to the places we want to go. Work doesn't have to be miserable. I honestly believe we all have it in us to create a lifestyle and a work environment that we truly enjoy and be wildly profitable at it. About 8 years ago, I was frustrated and burnt out in a career that I had been in for 20 years. I wanted a change. Scratch that. I needed a change. I was about to turn 40. Honestly, the thought crossed my mind that, was I going through a midlife crisis? Maybe this crisis would pass. But it didn't. I made the leap to do something different. I made the leap to create a lifestyle where I could work and live from practically anywhere. I don't feel chained to one spot, but how I wish I better understood of what I should have been doing all along before making that leap to make my path a bit easier. Oh, how I wish I had a place to go to or people to talk to that didn't think I was crazy and I could bounce ideas off of, and I could just be shown in simple terms what I needed to do, just the no-nonsense practical way of how I needed to get started and what I should truly worry about at the stage of my journey that I was in. More and more, I felt compelled to create a place just like that. Because over coffee with my friends and colleagues, that's what I was talking about. was my journey, and giving them ideas of how they can get started. Creating the work you truly love and building a lifestyle where you aren't chained to a certain income level or even chained to a particular geographical area. You are destined for great things. You want to do something different. Now, are you in a place in your life where you are just sick and tired where you're at? Maybe you're working in a job that doesn't excite you anymore. Maybe the job never excited you, but you feel trapped in staying. After all, you must earn a living. Maybe you've been in a corporate job for a very long time and just feel stuck. Maybe you're like me 8 years ago, that you've been in a corporate job for such a long time and feel stuck and have hit the glass ceiling. Or you're tired of climbing that corporate ladder, tired of working in the organization, but at the same time feeling guilty because you feel a sense of loyalty to that company who has given you so many opportunities. Sure, you've worked hard to get where you're at, working 40, 50, 60 hours even, maybe more. But thoughts have crossed your mind about wondering why you're working so hard to make someone else rich. You long to do something completely different, but have no idea what. You've been doing the same thing in the same industry all your adult life and feel like you're too old to do something different and will have to remain stuck in that job that you continually grow to hate until you retire. Or maybe you don't feel like you're too old, but you've been doing the same thing so long that you have no idea what other things you're good at. Or maybe you're not in a corporate job at all, but many years ago, you've created a great business for yourself that has supported you and your family for many, many years. But you feel like a caged animal. You must go to this physical business location no matter what. No matter how you feel, no matter what the weather is, but you must keep the doors open. You are tied to that business. You're serving customers that, although you know you're helping them, you provide a great service, but you have this physical location and you dread going to work because you don't want to be around those people anymore. It's okay. It's not that you are a bad person, and it's not that these are bad people. It's just something that you don't want anymore. You say to yourself you want to change. Something has to change. Because you're hanging your head down, slumping your shoulders, and you go off to work believing that you've worked your way into a corner and you have to stay there. After all, you have to earn a living, right? I'd like to share my story because I was there. I may have alluded to my past corporate life in past episodes, but I want to talk to those of you who feel really stuck and backed in a corner. With your head hanging low, your shoulders slumped, and wishing for a change, yet scared to take action to make the change happen. Or if you're like I was, and I knew I wanted a change, but had absolutely no idea what that change would be, how that change would look like, or even to know what the possibilities were. At that point in my life, I felt stuck until there were things that happened to me that opened my eyes to the possibilities. So here we go. I'm just going to lay it all out and hopefully not take too long in telling my life story. I'm a small town girl. I grew up in a town of about 3,500 people, and my graduating class was only 90 students. And I married my high school sweetheart. We were young. I was 19. He was just about to turn 21. He had enlisted in the Army right before we had gotten married. Our first duty station was at Fort Ord, California, which was a fantastic place. That fort is now closed, and we were actually there during the closing ceremonies. It was so different than where we had grown up. I loved that experience. But that is at 19 where I had, even though I was going to college for a totally different, well, I guess it wasn't a different major, but I was going to college at the time and landed my first real job outside of high school. And that job was with an ophthalmology office. And I started out simply calling and confirming appointments and filing charts. But not 3 months into that position, I was shifted into the bookkeeping position. That position became open because the lady that was doing that job, the bookkeeping job, which entailed the medical billing, the deposits, posting charges and payments, and contacting the insurance companies and counseling the patients who were about to have cataract surgery and, doing some little financial counseling type thing. And the lady that was in that position took medical leave, or actually maternity leave. Why they slipped a 19-year-old into that position to fill in for her, I just don't know. But that was the opportunity that was laid before me, and I loved it. I didn't have much guidance on knowing what to do, very little training, but I figured it out, and I learned that this was the career for me. I was 19. I was doing medical billing, had no training with it, and didn't have any formal schooling. And in fact, I was going to college for a different major, and I ended up switching my major to business administration because I knew I wanted to work my way up in the medical field. Later, I was offered a job with a home infusion company doing their medical billing, and that was very exciting for me. My husband and I started our family. We had our daughter, Megan, and he moved, or his duty station changed from California to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And so we picked up our family and moved, and I was just really into my career. Even though Megan was very small, I was able to land a part-time job where I could get out of the house and away and have some adult time doing the job that I really loved. And I found a job with a psychologist around the Fort Bragg area. I helped him convert his medical billing and his practice basically from a paper system to a computer system, which was exciting to me. It was fun. I loved that. I loved the challenge. And then he ended up moving his practice further away than I could commute, and I landed a job with a nursing home in their medical office, in their business office. And ironically enough, that position was open, and it was only a temporary position because I wasn't looking for something full-time or long-term because my husband was going to be getting out of the Army. His service was about to come to an end, and I didn't want to leave somebody, hanging. Well, anyway, this lady went off for maternity leave, and the nursing home needed a temporary position filled to continue with their medical billing and run their business office. And so I filled that. And my goodness, I was less than 25. I don't remember what age I was, but I was pretty young. And they allowed me to have that responsibility. You know what? That lady did not return from maternity leave. She decided to stay home, which was great. But I was raising a young daughter, and I really didn't want a full-time position at that time. And I really didn't want to leave that person hanging because we were going to be moving. I believe it was about a year before my husband and I were going to move back to Missouri. So I negotiated this position. I said, hey, you guys, you need to fill this position. I'll be here as long as it needs, because I know sometimes finding the right person, it takes a while. So I ended up negotiating to stay on until they found that right person, that right office manager to fill the shoes. And I recognized that their accounts receivable were just terrible. They had a huge accounts receivable, and I had the opportunity that I could collect for them. And so what I negotiated, but let me go back. It was a little harder to do the full-time job of the office manager and everything to do with the current stuff and have time to really hammer in and do some old collections. So what I negotiated was when they found that new office manager that I would work part-time for a fairly, for a reasonable hourly rate, but lower than what I'd normally ask for, and work on their old accounts receivable. And I asked for a percentage of collections of that. And boy, not bad for a 25-year-old. I was kind of proud of myself for negotiating that, and I did pretty well. I truly loved the challenge. My husband got out of the military. My daughter Megan and I moved back to Missouri, and I really ramped up my career. This is the way I wanted to be. This is what I was going to do for the rest of my life, was work myself up and be in medical and medical operations until I retire. That's what I was thinking. So I landed a job and worked many years in a health organization that was very large. I believe 6,000 employees. I can't remember. And I know that the organization is much larger now. They've merged with other health systems and everything. But I started there in the central billing office for the clinics. I had moved into cardiology, and then I went back to the central business office and learned many, many things. I really, truly enjoyed the challenge of my work. I learned so much and worked my way up the organization, and I worked a lot. I learned how to manage a team and manage office operations. And I worked, like I said, for different medical specialties and even the central billing office, which covered the entire health system clinic medical billing. And there were some of those aspects of that life that just wore me out and wore me down. In that big corporation, there seemed to be some backstabbing and manipulation in order to advance to higher positions. I wasn't one to partake in that. That's just not me. And so in my mind, my promotions didn't seem as fast as maybe others. But over the years, I was so proud and really enjoyed the challenges of my work. And sure, there are hard days and difficult people and stuff that will go wrong. But there were some wonderful things too. And that just kept me going. Besides, in life, we all encounter hard days and difficult people and stuff that will go wrong, no matter what the job is. So I found things that really sparked my interest and I enjoyed. Being in that organization for a while, I was then offered a new position outside of that big organization to start the billing office for a medical management company. And that intrigued me. And so I left the security of the big organization to go to a smaller company. That was a big risk, but I was so glad I did it, even though that was probably the hardest part of my career ever. Not long after I took that position, I was in my 30s, and that's when things kind of in my personal life just kind of crumbled. I guess that's when my husband and I divorced. I had doubts. It's like, why did I leave that big organization with the security? Now I'm going through this divorce and I'm with a smaller company, and I don't know if I just don't know. There was just so much going on, and so I really poured myself into work. Since I was going through that divorce, I became a single mom. Looking back, that was probably the time my perspective on many things shifted. And I think for the most of us, when something big like that happens in our lives, perspectives and outlooks seem to just change. Now, I continue to work hard in my career, and I had some, right at my divorce, I had some crazy, wild-haired ideas that I needed a change, and I even went so far that I thought, hey, I'm going to change my career and go into IT. Believe it or not, I went so far in taking my CompTIA A+ and Network Plus certifications test. Yeah, I got certified so that I could change my career, but I never ever took the leap because I already had an established career, and I thought, man, I'm stuck. I need to stay where I'm at because I have to support Megan. I have to be stable. That's the only stable part of my life. I have to do that because even though the company I was working for was much smaller than that other organization, I had great benefits. I had insurance. I had good pay. I had to stay. But I don't regret getting my certifications because I think that's what I needed during that time. I was proud that I was doing things on my own, and it was something that I had to prove to myself that I could do it. Even though there were some pretty rough patches, I was proud that I was doing things on my own. I think I got those certifications because I needed to prove something to myself. I needed to prove that I could do it. And I don't have regrets for never ever using them. It gave me an opportunity and the mindset that I needed. So I tucked the pieces of paper away and I took the knowledge and felt, that little nugget of confidence that, hey, I can do this. But I just tucked it away for the moment. Well, at that time that I was going through my divorce, or early in my divorce, I had another wild hair idea. And that idea was, hey, I have the itch to learn to play guitar. Well, let me tell you a secret. I don't have a musical bone in my body. No, not at all. I could not carry a tune if my life depended on it. Now, I appreciate music, but at the time, I wanted to challenge myself in learning guitar. Now, that was a crazy idea. Let me reiterate. That was the craziest notion, but it really opened me up, but not in the way that you think. So that's what I did. I set out to try to learn guitar. I was introduced to a local musician who, bless his heart, my goodness, bless his heart, he tried to teach me guitar. Now that man has patience. Oh boy. My progress was extremely slow. Now, I'm not sure, really, that I even had progress. And bless his heart, I can't say that enough, bless his heart for being patient with me. And we became friends, and I began to go out more and listen to local bands. And that opened me up. It opened my mind up like never before. Because I had never ever done that before. My guitar teacher and friend was the one who introduced me to Robert, another guitar player. Now, spending more and more time with Robert, I learned more about him, and he's quite the free spirit and creative type. And I began to wish that I wasn't tied to a regular job. I began to have this itch to do something on my own, something for me. Earning a living and helping people by maybe I could start my own business. Well, I have to tell you, that business was not going to be associated with the guitar. I just don't have it in me to master the guitar. Actually, I don't even have it in me to learn the chords. I decided long ago to just hang out with musicians because I appreciate music and drop that whole idea of trying to learn to play. It just wasn't in me. Besides, the more I hung out with Robert, I decided that it would probably be best to spare Robert trying to teach me music. And maybe that's why we're still together. In that job of mine, I got a taste of travel because I would travel with work quite a bit, and it was tiring, but I liked it. I like to go to different parts of the country, but too bad there wasn't much exploring with that. Just going from the airport to the hotel, to the office, back to the hotel, back to the airport, then home. But any chance that I could, I would really try to explore. That job position changed. I was offered a position of advancement that required me to move from Missouri to Florida. And I was glad for the change. I was tired of feeling, I guess you could say, stuck in Missouri. And my daughter was in high school at the time, and she wanted a change too. Although she didn't realize that change meant going to a new state. There's a whole other story about that transition. But it worked out beautifully. And Robert and I weren't married at the time, but he wanted a change of scenery too. So the three of us ended up heading to Florida. I had poured myself into my career since I was 19, and I was excited what I was learning all that time. And now my daughter was about to graduate high school, and I truly wanted to change. Day by day, every day, I was starting to get a little bit more cynical about work. This career that gave me so many opportunities, I didn't like it anymore. I didn't want to do it anymore. While in Florida, Robert and I decided to tie the knot. Nothing fancy, no ceremony to speak of. It was just he and I and the officiant. Now that he and I were together, and I was learning so much more about his free spirit. Gosh, I can't remember the timing of it, but the time was drawing near that my daughter was graduating. And I got news that the company I was working for was going to close. I was to stay there to help downsize the company and sell off the assets. And that was a hugely difficult time for me. And because there are many lives disrupted in closing a company, and there are many emotions. But I poured myself into doing the best job I could, even though day by day I was just becoming more and more cynical. I knew that my job was going to an end, but I had no desire to find another job in the same industry. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I stayed on with this company and was the one who tied up the loose ends, at least the best I could. And about the time that my daughter was graduating, and I was so tired and I was so burnt out from work, I mentioned casually to Robert that wouldn't it be nice if we could just sell everything and, maybe buy an RV and live in it and just travel around? It was just that little tiny mention that started the momentum for everything, and that led to big changes in our lives. Robert immediately began research on what our new home would be. We changed from living in a rental house in Florida to living in a 38-foot 2003 Alpha Sia motorhome. The company I worked for had several locations, so after Megan graduated and she moved to Missouri to go to college, we began to travel to the locations I needed to be with the company and worked out of our RV. The day was drawing near that I would no longer have a job with that company. At the time, I was still pouring myself into the company, and I did not want to try to look for another job and feel like I was tied down to one location. And I knew that I was tired of the medical field, and I knew I was simply burnt out. But I had no idea what on earth I could do besides what I knew in the medical field. And what was crazy was that I felt like if I started anything new while I was still working for that company, that somehow I was like cheating on them. That was crazy. As the company got smaller and smaller, my paycheck got smaller and smaller too. I was in the wrong mindset at the time. But be that as it may, I did not take any action before my job with that company was completely done. I didn't start until after my last day of work to grow something new. And I didn't really know what the heck I was doing or what I should be doing, because I was in this weird mindset that if I dare do any work for myself while working for them, I was somehow cheating them. And that was such a warped mindset. So if you have that, get with me because you should not be there. Looking back, if I was working on something that really enthused me, then I think my attitude about my day job would have been much better. And my nerves would have been spared a bit because I would have had something to look forward to, something new and exciting to do. I tell you all of this because if you are hanging your head down every morning saying you need a change, I'm here to tell you that you have it in you to make a change, and you can start it now while you have this other day job that you're not on too thrilled about. You can start with your idea and begin to build a platform, your online foundation, to get the marketing going on a business and create something that you would really love, and you would have more freedom and more fun, something that sparks you. I believe that if I would have started something and created my foundation, or at least knew what to do to create this foundation before my day job ended, my path would have been a little easier. Now, I'll tell you right off, there is hard work, but the work is so worth it, and the work is amazing. You want to change? You are already working hard. Why not work hard and create a foundation to a life that you'll enjoy? It's okay to make a change, and making a change does take work, but you're already working hard anyway. Having a place or a person or a group of people that think that you're not crazy, that are there to show you the way, that guide you. You know, we all have to earn a living so that we can put a roof over our head, food in our stomachs, and support our families. And that's just practical. That's just being honest. Even though I thought I was too old and too set in my ways, and I thought I was having a midlife crisis, no, I was just at a different stage in my life and I wanted more. So if you have these feelings, if you think that you're too old, you're not too old. You're not too set in your ways, and you're not having a midlife crisis. It's perfectly okay to want something more out of your life. And it's perfectly okay to love the work you do. You don't have to find work terrible. All the experiences you've had over the years up until this point will help you create something different for yourself and create a business that you will love. All your experiences, no matter how much you want to pivot, will help you build what you would love. There are things in creating your own business that are hard, and you'll be tempted to just quit or shift gears. And you'll be tempted to think that another avenue will be easier. I think we all have that. But when you start by building a great foundation, even before you leave your day job, your mind will be open to the possibilities, and you'll gain confidence so that you can go further. Don't let any excuses of not knowing where to start stop you. Don't let excuses that you aren't good with techie stuff stop you. Today, you need to make the decision to act. You can make a change, and it can start for one little simple thing. You should go over to GaylaScrivener.com/new me. That's NEWME, and download the free guide outlining exactly what you need to build your foundation. Now that's GaylaScrivener.com/new me. That's GaylaScrivener.com/NEWME. Now I am so grateful that you tuned in today, and I am glad that you endured, some of my life story. I could go even more in depth. And if you have any questions about it, you can always drop me a note. But I hope that my story has sparked a little fire in you, because I'd like to fan that flame. I truly believe that you can create a lifestyle with more freedom and more income. The biggest thing is that you need to believe it. I already believe it. I know you can do it. You have to believe that you can do it. Please hit the subscribe button and drop me a note or leave me a comment. I truly want to hear from you. Now, over the next few weeks, you'll see that I'll transition the show's name from the Accomplish More podcast to another name. And I don't know, maybe it'll be the Gayla Scrivener Show. I just don't know yet. It's become my mission to help those of you who are frustrated at where you're at, intimidated by tech, yet are motivated to create a lifestyle and the work that you truly dream of. And you can make that dream into a reality. You just need to have things chunked down a little bit. And that's what I've been helping folks with, chunking things down. What I see is that when things are chunked down, ideas are generated and confidence is raised. Instead of talking over coffee, just to a few people at a time, helping them by taking the complication out of building their foundation, and being a resource and guide by creating a lifestyle business they just don't dream about, but they are living. Now I'm opening up to help more people. That's what this podcast is all about. People just like you to gain the confidence and to learn the skills you need to create your lifestyle business. Funny, I hadn't even heard or realized that term lifestyle business until fairly recently. All I knew about 8 years ago when I started my journey was that I wanted a work from anywhere lifestyle. I wanted that freedom where I could just work from practically anywhere and not be geographically tied to one location. And if I decided to go somewhere else, that I would not have to start over. So thanks again for tuning in, and be sure to go to gaylascrivener.com/new me and download your free guide. And until next time, have a fantastic week.